Hello everybody, Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to watch this video today. I really appreciate it. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, have been with Stampin' Up! Almost 10 years now, and really love just sharing the joy of making cards, finding your creativity, and encouraging you not only to make those cards, but to share them with other people, because that's where the real joy comes from in the process. Today I'm going to share with you a really fun gift card holder. It's kind of a bag inside of a gift card, or a card, and it's, again, a lot of my projects I like a lot of wow without a lot of work, and this is another example of achieving that. I'm going to show you how to make this as a Christmas version, but I also have samples to share with you tonight that make a great masculine birthday card or a wedding card, featuring this gift bag as well on the inside. So let's go ahead and just get started right away, and then I will share with you the other cards so that you can see the options that are available for you. Tonight the card that we're going to make is going to feature this gorgeous Christmas Designer Series paper. It's the Boughs of Holly. This is in the July to December 2022 mini catalog. And then I am using the Hollyberry dies, specifically this die right here and that die for the front of the card. And then I've got some ribbon and things like that that we'll be adding to it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you're going to need is a piece of cardstock that measures 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and it is scored at 4 1/4. So again, that's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then you need a piece of Designer Series paper, and I've already kind of started marking mine up a little bit, but it is 11 by 3 inches. And so basically you could get out of one sheet of Designer Series paper almost 4 cards, at least the foundation for 4 cards. And depending on what you did for your front cover sheet, you might need 2 pieces of Designer Series paper. Anyhow, 11 by 3 on the Designer Series paper, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 5 inches, 5.5, 6 inches, and then 10 inches and 10.5 inches. And then you're also going to score it along one of the long side edges at the 1/2 inch mark. And then cut out the notches as I've got shown here. So again, this is an 11 by 3 piece of Designer Series paper, scored at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 5, 5.5, and 6 inches, and then again at 10 and 10.5 inches, and then on the long side scored at 1/2 inch, and then you'll just trim out these areas, which will make sense when you see the bag getting folded. Then the next thing you need is a piece of cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And a coordinating piece of Designer Series paper. It can either be the same or one that coordinates with your bag on the inside. I'm choosing to do the same today. And this piece of Designer Series paper measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then for the inside, you need a piece of basic white cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/4 inches. And then you'll need your scrap of basic white, whatever, paper to create your sentiment for the outside. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start simply by folding our cardstock in half, making sure to burnish the edges real well with your bone folder. And from there, we will add to it our Designer Series paper. And again, when you're using this seal tape, it is a very sticky tape, but a light touch is very helpful to keep it from getting stuck on itself. That can be kind of frustrating when you're using it. So just a light touch and do that check mark when you're done. I find that when I do a heavy touch, it tends to kind of get stuck on itself a little bit. All right, and then we're going to stick, I'm just looking to see if I have a more directional piece. I don't think I really do with this designer paper. So I'm just going to center this on the front of my card. Okay, and then I've taken an 18-inch piece of this ribbon, and this is the satin edged ribbon, 3/8 inch, and it's got the gold running through the middle. And I want to just put this, pretty much fold it in half, because this is how we're going to keep our card closed. I kind of think this step is a little bit optional, and you'll see that in my other examples. So we're going to put it across the card here, and I just figured out where my center was so that I can wrap it. And I'm going to add, taking my silicone mat, I'm just going to put some adhesive in the center of it, and I'm just running it right onto my tape, or right onto the ribbon. By using my silicone mat here, what's happening is that it's keeping the adhesive that doesn't stick to the ribbon right onto the silicone mat and not getting my work surface dirty. And so I've just got that centered on here, and that way I'm going to be able to tie it closed over here when we get to that point. So we're going to set that piece aside for right now, and let's go ahead and start working on the bag. Now, like I said, this you're going to score it 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 5, 5.5, 6, 10, and 10.5, and then 1/2 inch on the long side. And you're going to fold it with a series of kind of the mountain, valley, mountain. What we're doing is making actually a gusseted bag for the inside, and so you'll see this kind of come to life here as I start folding it. So it'll look something like this, and then you'll want to fold that piece up too. And I am using the tear and tape because I do want this to stick well to the bag, or to the inside of the card rather, as I make the bag. And so you'll want to make sure again that you've got good creases here for the gussets on the bag. And so I'm just coming through again with my bone folder to ensure that I've got that good crease going. And then we're going to repeat it here. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is create our bag. Now, I find whenever I'm using adhesive like this that it really helps me to just simply fold. Feels like I don't have one of my gussets correct in the center here. I'm going to try to create a new fold line so I don't run into goofiness with that. All right, that feels better. So what I do is I just simply fold things in half because that helps me get my things lined up well. And so I'm just going to pull, instead of trying to maneuver it, you know, like this and stuff, getting it lined up. For me, it works best if I just simply fold it over, get my finger out of there, and just fold it in half and rub it down. Now, this isn't completely lined up, so I'm hoping I can still, looks like my top is just a little off, but I think I can still get it apart enough to make it work, and if not, we'll work with it the way it is. Okay. Phew. I just want to make sure that top corner is matched up. Okay, that's better. And so what I'm ending up with now is just a box that looks like this. Okay, it does get a little stiff where you've got those multiple layers forming this one edge, so just go back and burnish it a little bit, and that'll give you the nice tight fold. Now, to attach this to the inside of the card, there's different ways you can do it, but what I found has worked best for me is I take the tape off of one of these lower flaps and I line this flat up just off of the score line. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about here. just to the edge of that score line, and then I have it centered. I'm eyeballing it, of course, but center it from top to bottom with it being just off of that score line, because you want the card to be able to fold, and if you put it right on the score line, it's not going to fold. And then once I have that piece lined up where I want it, I take off my second piece of that backing and I just close the card. And that way I know I've got that piece lined up exactly where it needs to go. And there we go with the inside bag here. How quick and easy is that, right? Now I do have 2 more pieces of this ribbon that are cut at 4 inches each. And I'm going to make a little handle for the inside of my bag. And I'm just using mini glue dots to adhere this ribbon. I did use twine on one of my examples and ended up using glue to adhere it, and it was kind of awkward. So if you can use a ribbon that's going to allow you to use the mini glue dots, I think you'll find that easier, but do what works best for the card that you're making and the papers that you're using. So I'm just putting a glue dot on the end of each piece of ribbon, and then I'm just taking that ribbon and again eyeballing it so it's kind of about there, and then I'm going to curve it because I want it to be like a handle and put it the same distance from either end of the bag. And then oops, I got that one stuck on here. We're going to repeat the process on the other side. This one's a little bit easier because then you know where both pieces go. So we're just going to tuck that in there, and we'll tuck this piece in right there. And now our gift bag has a little handle on it too. That'll kind of hold the gift card in place as it sits in there. And then the card will fold flat. Whoops, that's upside down. The card will fold flat and be held together with this ribbon. So that's kind of fun. The big thing is you want to make sure these handles are kind of tucked in once you close it up, just so they aren't hanging out off the edges. Now to finish decorating the front of the card, I have taken this nice little frame die from the Hollyberry dies, and it comes with the second piece. And honestly, when I first started using this, I couldn't figure out for the life of me what you would do with this piece. Well, it fits in perfectly. Make sure I show you the right direction that it goes. Sure, Carol, you can do this. All right, it fits in right behind this piece, and so what it does is it gives you a solid piece to put behind the holly leaves on here. That way you can cut this out in white or very vanilla or some other lighter color where your image is going to show up, and then fill in with that darker color. So it just fits like this on the back. It's not one of those that has to be lined up exactly because it's a little bit smaller than that area, but I just love this die cut and the way it's kind of layered like that. And I am using the Merry Christmas greeting that comes out of the Brightest Glow. It is this one. When I'm doing my holiday cards, I personally prefer the Merry Christmas greetings over the Seasons greetings. That's my personal choice, but you could use either of these. It's not going to matter at all on that. So that's where this sentiment came from. And I am going to take my Tombow glue, and again, I need to get my silicone mat wherever I pass that off to, because I do want to put some glue around that little frame, simply because it would be very easy to catch the edge on that. And so one of the things, I was never a glue person because I tended to make a mess with it. And what I've learned with this Tombow glue is that you can really control. So I'm putting just itty bitty dots of glue on here. And then of course on here I can do a little bit more, but that way I don't have to worry about the liquid glue gushing out. So this is the multi liquid glue, and that works really well for getting those fine lines like that. And then I'm just going to pick this up, and this is actually going to go on the front of my card here. And I'm just centering it there. And I've seen people put the holly so that it's going down on this side, and I've seen it kind of going up like this. I'm just having it go up because I think it works better with my card. Now, one of the nice things about the Tombow glue is you've got a little bit of wiggle room. So if you don't like how your frame is sitting here, you can work it and move it around just a little bit. So keep that in mind. All right, then the last thing that we need to do is finish up the inside of our card. And I'm just going to stamp this with the this one, which is may the peace of the world, or may the peace of the season light your world, and may your new year be the brightest. I like that that covers both this Christmas holiday, but also sends warm wishes for a good new year too. So I'm just using Real Red. This designer series paper goes either with the Cherry Cobbler or the Real Red. Oh, I've got a dark spot on here. I'm going to flip that over. But I had more of the Real Red showing, and so I'm opting to use that as my ink color. Now this piece, if you remember, is measured 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. And I did that so that when I open my card up and put this on the inside, I can have it not so nicely centered here. This is actually supposed to be 3 1/2, not 3 3/4. And so I need to take 1/8 of an inch off each side. Oh well, it's a good thing our trimmer can do that. Whoops, not that. That would have been disastrous had I cut there. All right. Quick, easy fix. Now, as I said, this is actually 3 1/2 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And this actually was the hardest part for me as I was adjusting things a little bit to figure out what the dimensions were. I kept cutting funky. And this way I can just center it in the open space here. So I've got equal distance, top, bottom, and side. And then we're going to just finish this card off real quick with a little bit of bling, because, you know, I can do that. And I am actually going to use the pearls this time. We have the metallic, red and green metallic pearls with a little bit of silver and gold, and so I'm going to do that. Sorry for that noise as I was digging those out. Just to add a little bit of pop to this card. So we'll grab a red one. Maybe we'll put that there. And I think I'm going to avoid the silver because we've got gold in that ribbon. And I'll put another red one down here. Okay, so these are the red and green adhesive back pearls. They're more metallic-y than just our standard pearl. So they add quite a bit of pop to a card project. All right, so you get all of this done and you're gonna stick your gift card in here. You could stick some, you just probably want to stick to the gift cards. Anything else might get a little bulky. If you're hand delivering it, you could probably fit a little Ghirardelli chocolate in there or something as well. And then you're just going to simply tie it closed like this with the pretty little bow. Realize I'm doing that off camera and I did that bow upside down, so my tails are going upside down. Let's try that again. I'm not a very good bow tire, so it gets nerve-wracking to be doing it live. it seems to me like you can either tie bows or you can't. And I definitely fall into that latter category. We're going to try this again though, because I'm going to make it work. All right, there we go. We'll put it on the side like that. And that way I don't have to worry about which direction my tails are going so much. And so you've got that there. You can trim off if you want on your tails a little bit. I'm actually going to leave mine because right now I can't find the scissors that I get to use for cutting ribbon. I don't know where I said. Oh, here they are, right in front of me. We'll just trim a little bit off. And you're good to go. So there, this gift card holder is as a Christmas holiday card. And then this is one I made for a masculine birthday. So I've just used some of the black and gray paper. And I'm using Real Red again as a highlight color. And I use the postage stamp punch. And I cut it, to get this layering, I cut it on the diagonal. I think a lot of people have seen us cut it in half this way and spread it out to get a good background. This one I opted to cut it through on the diagonal. And I'm using basic gray, basic black, and then the black and white designer series paper. This is the black and white designer series paper from the July to December mini catalog. And then when you open it up, I've got the striped gift bag here. I used some basic gray twine that I had left over to make my handles, and this is where I actually used the Tombow glue. And then I've used the gray granite cardstock for the inside because it's light enough, and I just stamped it with the "Wishing you happiness this special day will bring." So I thought that made a good masculine card. And this one I've opted not to put a ribbon on. It's just going to kind of hang open once they pull it out of the envelope, but then when they set it up to display it, it isn't going to really matter a whole lot. And then here is the wedding card that I made, and this is using, I really like how this one turned out. This is using the, I always forget what this one is called. Splendid. I know that. But it is the, I'm quickly looking it up, using the Splendid Day designer series paper. And this again too is in the July to December mini catalog. It's on page 65 of that catalog. And so I also brought in the stamp. Actually on this one, these are all dies that are in the set. And then I used on the inside the Much Love in Your New Life Together, which is part of the Splendid Thoughts stamps that coordinates with these products. So here it's got a fancy foil bag. This is all using the, having a mind blank on the color. It is the soft seafoam. It's not a color I use very often, sorry. So it's using soft seafoam and then the foil paper that comes in the coordinating paper along with the soft seafoam ribbon that was part of this as well. So I thought that made a real pretty wedding card. And again, I think you can see the versatility of this layout. Both of these I did portrait. This one landscape. This one I flipped around and did portrait. It works either way because ultimately on the inside, it isn't going to matter how you lay it out. So there you go. Again, I want to give correct dimensions, and I'll make a note of this in the comments too, that this inside piece that I used is actually 3.5 by 5 1/4. And that way it fits in very nicely on that. So there you go. A gift card holder and a card. Thanks again for joining me. If you know anybody that may like this video or the layout, please be sure to share it with them. I do appreciate every time that happens. And until next time, take care and have a great week. Bye-bye.